So here's the latest issue of Forbes magazine with one of my pictures inside, using the same gimmick, if you will, as I use for the images that are on the thumbnail and images that we'll look at in this video when we jump over here on the computer. And I use the word gimmick kind of loosely, but seen people call it maybe a gimmick. But I think when you talk about gimmicks that could give more of a negative connotation, I like to think of these as tools that we can use to maybe create something different during a photo shoot than what we were already creating, for our clients. So that photo shoot for Forbes magazine, for a perfect example, is I had to capture portraits of this person, and they wanted gels, they wanted no gels, and then just on a whim, I took what I'm going to show y'all here, which is a prism with me. You can see that. And so what I did is at the end of the shoot, I had stuff that was already approved by the editor of the magazine. And so then I put this on my lens, and we took a couple more shots, and it went along with the theme. And I used the gels and this for the shot that ended up in the magazine. So what it did is it gave them more options on that end to choose something that might be a little bit different than they had actually assigned me. But I was on a job where I had enough time. I got what they wanted, and the subject of the photo shoot there was willing to hang out for a couple more frames, and so I screwed that on. We took a couple more shots, kind of dialed it in a little bit more, and she was enjoying it. And then I sent those over to the magazine, and they selected one of those images for the image that they ran in the magazine. So you just never know. And for the basketball images that I used this prism on, the prism, I'll link it down below, but the basketball images was very similar. I conducted the photo shoot for each player and got what we needed, what was approved by the media people there, photo shoot. And then I strapped this on, and we took a couple more shots and just got something different, something that the girls, the players, were really excited about seeing. And so that was always fun. And then I could show, after we did the first one, then I could show the other players as they came in kind of what we were doing. And then we were going to finish up with these cool kind of images with the blur kind of effect on those portraits. And so, I mean, is it a gimmick? I think it's a tool. I think I stress when I talk to other photographers just to do your best to separate yourself from everyone else, whether it's using something like this or just the environment you create during a photo shoot. But when I talk about tools like that, you can talk about gels like these. These are the new flexi gels that Westcott just came out with. I love throwing color on my lights if it works with what we're doing. And they actually just came out with these. This is their Vivid pack. And I'll just show these real quick. I might do a whole video on these eventually. But you can see this is the new version of the pink, and then this is the old version. So you definitely have a stronger variant of color on these. Let me rotate them around so you can see. The blue is definitely, you can see it's different. You also have more of it's thicker on the front. So I'm going to have to play around with these and see what the power loss is on those. The reds are probably the closest, but this one's definitely a little more red than this one. But those are brand new. You can also use things like the Pro Light mods. And I've done it with this the basketball team a couple years ago, where I had a secondary setup with some mods off to the side that I was able to just rotate camera and have them move over to a second set and take some shots that way. I've done that in the NBA, where I had the carved background for the Charlotte Hornets, and we had two setups. So we did some shots on those boards there, and then I rotated over and we did some stuff just on I think it was a purple backdrop for the rest of those images. So it's something that I think it's not a bad thing to offer it for your clients. And once again, it's just another way to kind of separate yourself from the rest of the pack, possibly. Going back to this, the prism itself, I found just on Amazon, on Instagram. There's a company that's advertising prisms, and they want like $100 and something for their prism. I think all their prisms are over $100, and so I just, before I was going to invest that much into something, I wanted to just kind of get something in here a lot less expensive. So this is like 35 bucks off of Amazon. I did get the 82 millimeter version, and then on that I put a step-up ring. So right here I've got a 77 to 82 step-up ring. So during that shoot I was actually using the 24 to 105 RF lens, which is a 77 millimeter. And I can use this step-up ring to adapt this 82 to this lens, and then I'll have 82 millimeters if I want to use like the 24 to 70 f2 or f2.8. I mean, so then I wouldn't have to get multiple copies of this. I just have these rings that make that work for me. So we'll take a look in the computer, and I'll show you kind of the trial and error that I went through with this guy. I did practice with it before I went to the photo shoot, so I had somewhat of an idea of what I was going to get. But it's just not as simple as just screwing this onto the front of your lens. You can angle it different ways to where the prism will, I think you can probably see me through there, and you can kind of see where it stretches some of the areas. But what it does, this particular one, they're all different types of ones. This one's got like a flat piece here, and then the edges kind of angle off, and it pulls whatever is on that edge of the frame. So when you're using that prism, I was finding, and we'll take a look, as I said, I guess in the range of probably 60 to 70 millimeters was where I was finding the sweet spot. So then I could kind of angle it back and forth and kind of create that effect where I wanted it. And then another thing too that you'll notice, and it's not going to look as exactly the same as it does in camera when it comes across. In this case, I was tethered to a computer, so there were some differences there, and I'm guessing that's probably based off of your f-stop, those types of things. So it takes a little bit of practice, but also just to get it to work like it did and the images to look like that, I had to have the proper lighting set up for that photo shoot. And so I'll run you through the lighting real quick too, and we'll then talk about the prism and the resulting images there. We also want to quickly just state that this photo shoot is included in the new tutorial that I released, and which I guess is somewhat the sponsor of this video, my own tutorial. But that tutorial, for those of you who are asking me in the comments and then sending me emails and stuff about light placement, like how or where I place my lights, what modifiers I use, what's the reasoning behind the powers that I put on certain lights, how do they all work together, what are your lighting ratios? If you're interested in any of that, please check out the tutorial down below. I spend over 3 hours on content just running through everything from 1 light to 7 lights that you'll see in this photo shoot. And this photo shoot here I actually included in the tutorial, because basically I put everything to work that we learn or we go through during the lessons, the sections of the tutorial up until, well, through the end of the tutorial, but then kind of a bonus was this photo shoot where I put all of that to work. So you can see how it manifests itself onto a photo shoot. There's a reason for everything that I'm doing on these photo shoots, and basically everything we go through in that tutorial is put to work there. And I was able to show you just how I use it as a working photographer. So check that tutorial out if you're interested in learning about lighting all the way, like I said, from 1 light to up to 7 lights. So now let's jump on here. We're going to take a look at the light setup, and then we will take a look at some of the resulting images. All right, so let's jump in here and look at this lighting setup. I'm going to scroll this forward. I was in the arena, the Colonial Life Arena, in one of the, I guess, storage rooms that they converted to kind of a neat, I'm thinking they use this as somewhat of a green room when the bands and stuff play there. Pause. All right, so let's back this up. So you can see my lighting setup here, tethering setup. I've got my tether cable going to this laptop actually, and so it's a 7 light setup. I got my key light here on my boom. on the, this is in the Manny Ortiz 36-inch beauty dish. This was for some earlier headshots we did. I had kind of a clamshell type setup going, but this moved back to this stand here, and I had a 53-inch umbrella on that stand there. And let me go back forward. On the left side of my talent, I had a 7-foot umbrella, and then on the other side I had the 1x4 strip box, and then I had 2 FJ200s up here for they were reflectors for kind of my rim lights at the top here. And like I mentioned, if you really want the details on this type of setup, I've got these diagrams that come right with that tutorial. They give you the measurements between the lights and the subject on here, the powers, all that kind of stuff. So you can actually take it straight from that diagram there and set up your own 7-light setup exactly like this one if you're interested in doing that. So that's what I had kind of cooking there, and that's what we use for that photo shoot. I've got just a little behind the scenes stuff here so you can see what was going on. This is Raven, one of the point guards there. And we're doing the static portraits right here. And then we would do a little bit of action type stuff, some dribbling, that type of thing. And you can see what was coming across here on that. So let's jump over to Capture One. Let's get to why you all are all here. You can see that update. All right, so this is what I was kind of happy with using this prism here. And if you look at the prism, again, like I showed you earlier, it's got this little area here in the middle that is unaffected. It's just a flat piece of glass there, and then it bends out from there, and that's where it grabs the portions of your subject and stretches them out on the sides. Kind of giving, for a shot like this, it's giving a bit of a sense of movement when standing still, which is pretty cool. And as I mentioned earlier, I was finding success. This one here is at 67 millimeters. I think most of my success was probably 58, I think we'll see here in a second, up to about 70. And then it's based off of how close I am to the subject. So the bigger she is in the frame, the more that effect is going to take place. So let's jump up here. So this is at 58, so it's much more subtle. So it's just based off of kind of what it is that you're looking to accomplish with the filter. If you wanted to go really nutty, you could zoom in a little bit closer and step in closer to her, and things can get really wacky that way. But I wanted something a little more subtle, so you can see the results here. When something is closer to where that prism starts to bend, it really grabs them, so you can see that right there. But based off of a crop, that might be pretty cool as well. So I was happy with these in here, that I was getting stuff like that right there is really cool to me. But let me show you too. Malaysia here was our last player, and so I had extra time. She was cool hanging out. She liked the results that were coming across. So I had her do some action type stuff just to try it out with the prism to see if I could get that to work. And long story short, it really didn't. Okay, as we get there, this is 70 millimeters. You can see that down here, but let's get down here where I'm talking about the action type stuff. And so I'm at 45 here. I'm trying to figure out how to frame her. And as you can see, for me, it just really wasn't happening in this type of setup. So I wanted to show that, just to show that when I get the chance, I do try to experiment. I got to read the room, make sure everyone's cool with it. And so we tried that action type stuff. In my mind, it wasn't successful. Went back to what I knew was working earlier, and we've got some really cool shots like this here, and the ones that I'll show during this video. So just wanted to let me stop the record. I got a lot of feedback on these images that I put on Instagram, and did a webinar here recently and had a lot of follow-up questions about this guy, where to get it. And I've tried to show just basically how I used it, and you know what I had working for me and what I didn't have working for me. So I thought I would make a video, share it here on the YouTube channel. So if you feel like this video is worthy, please hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel out immensely. If you want to see more content just like this in the future, hit that subscribe button down there and the little bell so YouTube will let you know when I'm back on here. In the meantime, you can find me on social media, like I said, over at Instagram and pages too, and sometimes on Twitter, all at quantzphoto, and then at ProLightMods as well. If you got any more questions, comments, please drop those down below. In the meantime, y'all stay safe and healthy out there, and I will see y'all again soon in the next one.